Amusement park. An abandoned amusement park, once a source of joy for countless children and families, now lies in eerie silence, its ruins a haunting reminder of the disaster that struck. Giant Ferris wheels, rusty roller coasters, and old carousel horses, once symbols of fun and happiness, have now become twisted, almost ghostly objects, frozen in time, devoid of life. It's hard to believe that just over 3 decades ago, this place was ready to welcome thousands of visitors. The Chernobyl disaster in 1986 changed everything. When the nuclear explosion happened, the nearby city of Pripyat, where the amusement park stood, was evacuated in a hurry. The park was meant to open for the summer, but it never had the chance. The residents were forced to flee, leaving behind the colorful rides, the lively atmosphere, and the laughter of children. All of it vanished overnight. Today, the amusement park is not just a memorial to the disaster, but also a death trap. Over the years, some brave or perhaps foolish souls have ventured into the area, only to be met with a chilling sight. The rides stand motionless, covered in dust and moss. In particular, the giant Ferris wheel, with its empty seats swaying in the wind, gives off an unsettling feeling, as if waiting for someone to climb aboard. But who in their right mind would step foot there with radiation levels still dangerously high? Scientists have warned that radiation levels near the park remain extremely hazardous. Recent surveys show radiation levels can reach as high as 100 microsieverts per hour, many times higher than the safe threshold for humans. In fact, just spending a single day in these areas could expose you to enough radiation to cause serious health issues, even death, over time. Why has the amusement park remained untouched for so long? These deadly remnants aren't just relics of a catastrophe, they're a reminder of the devastation humanity can bring. The amusement park rides, once symbols of joy, now sit there like cursed objects, impossible to move. These attractions still stand, frozen in time, as if trapped by a dark, lingering force. Since the disaster, this amusement park has become a symbol of decay. What was once meant to bring happiness is now a shadow, standing still among the rubble. Anyone who dares to approach it will find themselves in a world of death and silence, where laughter has long been replaced by a haunting stillness. But the question remains, will this amusement park continue to stand as a forgotten monument, or will one day someone clear the remnants of this catastrophe? The mysteries of Chernobyl are not only found in the crumbling buildings and rusted machinery, they lurk in every corner of this forbidden zone, where time seems to have stopped, and where life and death intertwine in a chaotic mix of what was lost. The story of Chernobyl's amusement park is far from over, and perhaps we'll never uncover all the secrets it still holds. The abandoned school in Chernobyl. In the forbidden zone of Chernobyl, where only silence and desolation reign, one of the most chilling places is an abandoned school. This school, once a hub of learning and life for hundreds of children, now stands as a decaying ruin. The walls are crumbling, old desks and chairs are buried under layers of dust, and the books are yellowed with the passing of time. Most haunting of all, in the hallways, the children's drawings and naive artworks have faded into mere ghostly smudges, reminders of a life that was suddenly interrupted. On April 26, 1986, the Chernobyl nuclear disaster erupted, and within hours the city of Pripyat was plunged into panic and despair. Children, once happily sitting in their classrooms, would never again continue their lessons. As news of the explosion spread, the authorities made the fateful decision to evacuate the entire population of Pripyat. Families rushed to leave behind everything: unfinished meals, possessions still scattered around, and dreams that would never be realized. The school, like so many other places in the city, was abandoned in silence, left to decay with no one to fill its halls. But this silence is not one of peace. For decades, the school has still held on to its untold stories. Radiation traces linger in every corner, threatening the safety of anyone daring enough to step inside. The radiation levels here still exceed safety limits by hundreds of times, turning the school into a forbidden zone for the curious. Just stepping onto the grounds of this building, you can feel the danger hanging in the air. Radiation detectors beep in warning, urging you to leave before your health is compromised. However, for the thrill seekers, this abandoned school becomes a place to explore. They walk in, armed with cameras and Geiger counters, not to learn or study history, but to feel the strange aura of the past and capture images of a forgotten time. The walls, stained with nostalgia, the chalkboards slowly fading away, and the unfinished lessons still hanging on the walls, all serve as stark reminders of the sudden disruption. The air is thick with a sense of numbness, fear, and mystery, making everything around you feel even more ominous. But what truly makes this school so unnerving is the unanswered question: is there a soul still lingering here? Those who ventured inside have shared strange stories, unexplainable noises, shadowy figures, a sudden, unnatural chill. Could the children who once attended this school have truly moved on, or are they still hiding somewhere in the darkness? These questions have no answers, but they linger in the minds of anyone who steps foot in this eerie, abandoned place. In addition, the radiation danger makes this site a dead zone. In just a few hours, a person can accumulate enough radiation to cause severe blood disorders, a weakened immune system, or even death. Estimates suggest that even brief exposure to the radiation here can result in permanent damage to one's health. While protective measures have been put in place, the radiation still remains, an ever-present reminder of the horrors that linger here, a warning that cannot be forgotten. Abandoned vehicles in Chernobyl. In the forbidden zone of Chernobyl, where time and space have been torn apart by the nuclear disaster, the abandoned vehicles here stand as haunting relics, silent witnesses to the unimaginable devastation of the explosion. These vehicles, once used to transport people through the bustling city of Pripyat, were once filled with passengers, bags, and the everyday hustle of life. Now, they are nothing but lifeless shells, stranded in a landscape marked by death and decay. When the explosion at the Chernobyl nuclear plant happened, the city of Pripyat was thrown into utter panic. The entire city, including its residents and children, was forced to evacuate immediately. The cars, buses, and trucks had no time to move, left abandoned in the streets as people rushed to flee with only what they could carry. Some vehicles were left in perfect condition, parked in the middle of deserted streets. Others were broken down and couldn't continue. But what makes these vehicles so eerie and mysterious are the traces they leave behind, signs of a life that was abruptly cut short, a time that will never be forgotten. Today, these vehicles remain, sitting exposed to the harsh sunlight and relentless winds. Each one, whether intact or decaying, carries an untold story. The buses sit isolated, their windows shattered, with seats covered in thick layers of dust. The trucks, once used to haul materials, have become nothing more than piles of rusted scrap, silently enduring the ravages of time. The personal cars, where families once shared moments of joy, now sit in eerie silence, with only dents in the haunting stillness left behind. These vehicles are not just old objects. They hold hidden mysteries, phenomena that no one can explain. One of the greatest mysteries in the area is the persistent radiation levels around these cars. Even though these vehicles have been abandoned for decades, some still bear the effects of powerful radiation. Those who dare approach these cars have reported that their radiation detectors constantly emit warning signals. The radiation levels are many times higher than normal, proving that these vehicles still contain remnants of the nuclear disaster. Despite their seemingly peaceful appearance, the radiation around these vehicles is still potent enough to cause serious health risks. Visitors who ignore these warnings can easily expose themselves to harmful radiation, even from a short visit. These vehicles are no longer just symbols of abandonment. They are a warning about the danger that still lingers in the Chernobyl zone. The cars left behind are emblems of ruin, of change that can never be reversed. Yet they also serve as a reminder that, even though time passes, the memories of Chernobyl and what happened here will never be forgotten. These vehicles are not just forgotten objects in a forest. They are living witnesses to a catastrophe that changed the world, a world now left with nothing but silent monuments. The Claw of Death, the Steel Claw at Chernobyl. Deep in the dense woods outside of Pripyat, one of the most haunting remnants of the Chernobyl disaster still lies in silence, frozen in time. It's a massive steel claw, known as the Claw of Death, representing the brutal aftermath of a tragedy that no one can ever forget. This claw is more than just a part of a crane. It has become a symbol of the sacrifices made during the chaotic days following the explosion at Reactor 4. In April of 1986, when the fury of the Chernobyl explosion erupted, this crane was deployed to assist in the cleanup efforts. Its task was to remove blocks of graphite that had been scattered across the roofs of the nuclear plant, rooftops now dangerously radioactive. These graphite blocks were a deadly source of radiation, and anyone who came into contact with them would succumb to fatal radiation sickness in a matter of minutes. They had to be moved and disposed of, but no human or machine could stay near them for long because of the lethal radiation levels. To tackle this peril, engineers turned to specialized machines, including this crane with its massive steel claw. As it moved the debris, the claw itself absorbed more and more radiation. Over time, it became part of the cleanup machinery, so contaminated that it was beyond repair. The claw had done its job, but at a terrible cost. It now carried an immense level of radiation, making it a dangerous artifact, unable to be moved or reused. Since then, the Claw of Death has been left abandoned in a remote forest, far from human presence. Those brave enough, or reckless enough, to venture close, like archaeologist Robert Maxwell in 2019, are met with deadly danger. Maxwell described his experience with the radiation counter, which screamed as it registered radiation levels exceeding 39.8 microsieverts per hour, hundreds of times higher than normal background radiation. In a single day, the claw emits about 950 microsieverts, enough to cause radiation sickness and death if exposed for too long. Despite the danger, the Claw of Death continues to attract thrill-seeking tourists, those undeterred by the ominous warnings. One infamous photo shows two young women climbing into the claw, posing for pictures as if they were at an amusement park. This daredevil behavior is chilling, considering that every second spent near the claw brings them closer to death. Some locals believe that the claw will remain there forever, unable to be moved due to the overwhelming radiation levels, even though it no longer serves its original purpose. It is a painful truth that a tool once meant to help save lives has now become a symbol of destruction and the reckless devastation of humanity. The story of the Claw of Death is just one of countless mysteries lying dormant in the Chernobyl area, a monument to the destruction we can never forget. The church in Chernobyl, a sacred relic amidst destruction. In the desolate land where time seems to have come to a standstill, one unforgettable relic remains: the church in Chernobyl. Abandoned for decades, this church still stands, not just as an ancient architectural marvel, but as a painful reminder of the shattered city, of lost hopes and broken faith. Once a place of worship for the people of Pripyat, the church has now become a symbol of all that was lost in the Chernobyl disaster. Before the nuclear catastrophe of 1986, Chernobyl was a modern city where thousands of workers lived and worked at the nuclear power plant. Among these structures, the church was a sacred space, a place where people sought peace in their hectic lives. The Chernobyl church witnessed countless services, weddings, and moments of serenity. It was a sanctuary in the middle of a thriving community. However, all of that changed on April 26, 1986. When the explosion at Reactor 4 took place, Chernobyl was turned into a ghost city, and the church, along with the rest of the area, faced utter destruction. The church, once a place of peace and devotion, was now left in ruins. No one came to pray anymore. The city of Pripyat was abandoned in a frantic exodus, with no one returning. Yet, the church stands, though abandoned for almost 4 decades. Architecturally, it still maintains the defining features of an Orthodox Russian church, with its grand domes, faded frescoes, and stained glass windows, many of which are shattered. Its silence now serves as a grim reminder of the unspeakable losses suffered during the Chernobyl disaster. Inside the church, there are things still intact: the altar, statues of saints, and wooden pews that once held worshippers. But all of them are covered in dust, and the walls are cracked, bearing the marks of time and neglect. The church is no longer a place of religious activity, but a symbol of destruction and the irreversible devastation that followed the nuclear explosion. Despite the chilling silence, the church continues to attract daring explorers, those who seek the thrill of visiting such a place, oblivious to the lurking dangers. But with each step they take, they come to realize the hazards of the area. For not only the church, but the entire Chernobyl zone remains fraught with radiation risks. Even after nearly 40 years, the threat has not been completely eradicated. Some locals believe that the church will stand there forever, a memorial to the past, to faith and hope, even though its parishioners will never return. And it's a heartbreaking truth. A place of worship, once a beacon of sacredness and hope, has now become a ruin, a testament to a time long gone, a reminder of the catastrophic destruction humans have caused. The story of the church in Chernobyl is not just a tale of religion, but a story of loss, of things that cannot be saved. It is part of Chernobyl's legacy, a legacy that no one can forget, no matter how much time passes. Chernobyl is not just a name, it's an eternal reminder of the devastation caused by nuclear disaster. The remnants left behind in this zone, from the abandoned buildings to small forgotten objects, hold countless untold stories. Though forgotten, their presence lingers in the minds of those who encounter them. Chernobyl, with all its mysteries and dangers, will always leave an indelible mark. These abandoned secrets are still waiting to be uncovered, and perhaps they will remain unsolved forever.